Продовжуємо робочий.
We continue our working day in the press center of Ukrainian Crisis Media Center, and now we will discuss the first outcomes of the free legal aid centers. And we have a Minister of Justice, Mr. Petrenko, and Mr. Vishnevsky, advisor to the Minister on the legal aid centers. Good afternoon, dear friends. We traditionally keep you informed on our work, and one of the aspects of this work is free legal aid delivery to more than 500,000 of Ukrainians. We will describe today our first achievements. I would like to remind you that 2 years ago, Ukraine has established this free legal aid system from scratch, and lawyers working in this network, in this system, deliver legal aid to those people who are unable to pay for legal aid. These are pensioners, these are IDPs, these are poor people with low income. This is almost 500,000 of people. The government has set this as a top priority for its work, and now I would like to invite to microphone Mr. Andrei Vishnevsky, who will discuss the first achievements of the free legal aid. Thank you for this opportunity. I will start with the mission. Protection of human rights while equal access to the legal aid and justice, and strengthening of legal opportunities and capacity for representatives of vulnerable groups. So we have more than 500 access points to free legal aid. More than 2,600 lawyers are involved into this system. More than 1,600 lawyers who work staff lawyers who work for these centers of free legal aid. And all that capacity allows us to deliver services to more than 350,000 people annually. So the major changes which we reached in the last year, the level of those who of the income who are liable for this free legal aid was raised, and thus more people getting pension or wage lower than 2 living wages has got the access to this service. Then we extended the list of vulnerable categories and added the war veterans, ATO participants, and IDPs to the list of those who are subject to the free legal aid. Then the government has made the decision which pays for translation in a course of legal aid for all those people who do not speak Ukrainian language but needs the free legal aid. This map shows that all the territory of Ukraine is covered with the access points to free legal aid. And now some statistics. Statistics as to the year 2016. So 275,000 clients applied for free legal aid, and 239,000 received assistance in courts. These figures illustrate the changes of extended access. Pay attention, almost 30% are war veterans and ATO participants. If we compare this figure with 2015, we clearly see that there was only 10% of applicants from this category. This reflects our achievement in terms of the extended threshold and extended network. This is very important that these categories has got access to free legal aid.
The results of criminal cases, more than 80,000 people received defense at the expense of the state, and talking about the quality of this defense and about the result of the work of the lawyers, you see 549 cases of closing the criminal case because there was no crime. That means there's 549 people who were unfairly suspected or accused were basically they did not get into imprisonment, and in fact these are the numbers of crimes which were not committed, and then more than 7,000 people who were recognized as those who committed the crime were freed to serve the term with the period of probation. The law on probation was passed, and now the Ministry of Justice is building up the system. These 7,000 people a year are the clients of the system of probation, which is now being developed. We are actively involved into awareness campaigns. We're disseminating the information about the services that we submit so that people know about their right to receive the free legal aid, about the real opportunities to get that. We work with our partners, with the local self-government bodies, and because of that, the local self-government bodies passed 104 programs of free legal aid, because the budget, the national budget, will not be able to cope with all the scope of the free legal aid, but also the local self-government body has to take care of the community so that they have access to legal aid. 2016 has become the year when we finished extensive development of the system, when the system has gained its full-fledged frames. Why did we open 529 bureaus of free legal aid? In 2015, we had 100 centers, but we drew attention to the fact that 90% of people who come to such centers are people from the settlement where the center is located, and the center was providing services to 7 districts. That meant that most of people cannot get access to legal aid. And another important thing was that we drew attention to the fact that only 20% of people really need assistance in court. 80% they just need some information and consultation. They need just methodological support. And then the minister passed a decision that part of the money saved after liquidating the departments of justice of the district level, which basically were liquidated. This money were used to develop the system of free legal aid. What we got, we increased 4.2 times the number of people who independently could come for legal assistance and who could who received it. 67% of people, more than 2/3, receive legal aid in bureaus. We have now 3 times more cases of representation in the courts, and that's in villages, in rural areas. The most vulnerable are people from villages and rural areas, and now they have access to legal aid. The system of free legal aid is absolutely transparent. We publish all the financial information about our activities, starting from the cost estimate down to the opinion of auditors. We created the system of internal audit, and every year in 10 district centers we audit the centers. You can see all the auditors' opinions on our website. We had 2 external audits, one from the Ministry of Justice. We received the positive opinion, and the second audit was of the Chamber of Accounts, and that is also very important for us. Also, the Ministry of Justice initiated the external assessment, comprehensive assessment of the system of free legal aid, and we requested the Council of Europe about that. The independent experts prepared the report, and that has become the basis for the plans for improving the system. What is important, the reanimation package of reforms, and the public included the system of free legal aid into 10 most successful achievements of Ukrainian reforms. We are proud of that. And in the end, I would like to say, I would like to continue on what the minister said, that the further development of the system of free legal aid is in the agenda of the leadership of the state, of the government, and as a priority is included into the main strategic documents which we have in Ukraine. That's the strategy of reforming of judiciary, national strategy in the sphere of human rights, national strategy on assisting development of civil society, and the middle-term plan of priority actions of the government to the period up to 2020. What is important? I started from the mission, values and vision. These are not the slogans. These are what are turned into the plans of activities, and they included into the strategic documents of the government. You see 5 key priorities of the development of the system of free legal aid, and that is reorienting it from individual providing services to individual clients, to enhancing the legal capacity of the communities. That's creating effective system of knowledge management. We are planning to open 5 interregional resource centers, the platforms which will be the platforms for our partners which will work in the sphere of enhancing legal capacity. That's further decentralization of the system of free legal aid, because only decentralization can ensure the quality of services, also improving the providing legal aid in criminal cases. Will do it similar to public defender offices, and also it is impossible to do it without developing and introducing IT. We have information analytical system, and we are planning to automate all the systems, all the processes in the system to reduce the costs for administering the system. We are grateful to our partners. We are supported by the U.S. government, the Department of State of the U.S., the government of Canada, Council of Europe, government of Denmark, George Soros Foundation Network, and we will not be able to achieve our results without the support of our partners. Thank you for attention. Thank you, Andriy. Thank you, Pavlo. May I add?
Thank you, Andriy. I think that these are very proven figures that up to 20% of people come into our 80% of people come into our free legal aid centers. They require legal advice, and that's why from late May this year we will start implementation of the new project on raising public awareness about the rights of Ukrainian people and about the responsibilities of administrative authorities. And thus, Ukrainian people will know and will be able to enjoy their human rights guaranteed to them by the state. We will continue to develop our free legal aid system, and since recent time, Mr. Vishnevsky had become Deputy Minister of Justice, and despite the fact that I cannot appoint Mr. Vishnevsky, the CEO of the entire legal aid in Ukraine, nevertheless, I would like to submit Mr. Vishnevsky as a candidate to this position. That's why I would like to encourage our civil society to support this procedure to fill in the vacant position of the leader of free legal aid system in Ukraine. We are very much committed to find best people to work in this system. Thank you, Mr. Minister. What criteria do you apply to the candidates into that position which you mentioned? These are similar requirements as to the leaders of new anti-corruption bodies, between 3-5 years of experience of leadership in both private or state sectors. We invite experts from legal sector like attorneys, like lawyers, and we are very much committed to attract very competent experts. Andriy and me, we have a broad experience in legal field, and we keep in mind many different projects, so we count for new professionals who will join us. Ukrainian news, would you please specify about election of the head of illustration department. Today, the contest commission will announce a short list of candidates, and yesterday maybe we will be able to name the candidates of the head of the illustration department and deputy head. Tomorrow there will be a special press conference on this issue. I invite you to join us tomorrow. Further question from 1+1 TV channel. Ludmila Badelan, 1+1 TV channel. Could you develop more about your plans to cancel old Soviet laws? How many of them you plan to repeal? It's not a plan. It is already past resolution passed by Ukrainian government. We plan that one law will repeal and cancel old Soviet laws, instructions, resolutions, etc. These pieces of legislation will automatically expire within 6 months upon passage of this one new law. Then the laws which were passed by the Soviet Union and which remain effective now in Ukraine, they will be repealed within 1 year, and the codes which were passed in the times of the Soviet Union, they will be repealed within 3 years upon passage of this law. What does it mean? That within 3 years Ukraine will reject fully from the effective old codes which we inherited from the Soviet Union, like the labor code, the housing code, and the and some other and the administrative code. The housing code is very obsolete and anyway remains inefficient. The labor code, the new draft, is already in the parliament, and the administrative code is very much obsolete. We believe that immediately after May vacations, the parliament will devote attention to our draft law. Новое время publication. 3 ministers elected from the People's Front faction to the parliament. They expressed their willingness to provide guarantees for Mykola Bartynenko if he would be released in course of pre-court investigation. What is your position? You also represent the same faction. I believe that Ukrainian judiciary system should provide the right for fair trial to everybody, and I think that each citizen of Ukraine, including the former member of parliament, has the right for fair trial. While in this very case we expect that there might be pressure upon experts and judges, and we suggested that suggests that law enforcement bodies should prevent any attempt of pressure upon their experts, etc. I believe that the process should continue in judiciary field, not in political field. In nearest future, we will reform the system of forensic expertise. I think that the situation when an investigator has contacts with the court expert in course of forensic expertise, we would like to prevent these connections in course of investigation and to change this situation.
Two more questions, very brief, please. Good afternoon, Mr. Minister. Nemovchi Public Association. The slogan says, "We are against populism, the time for competent." How on the website of the debtors, there are people who have debts, and there's such ex-MP of Ukraine, Igor Miroshnichenko. Two cases for 5 million hryvnias are open against him, but his name is not on the website. What is your attitude to that? Should the public know about such MPs? Your comment. First, the law is the law for everyone, irrespective of whether that's MP or ex-MP or a minister or just a citizen. That's why we launched the system of the electronic register of the cases. I don't have exact information about that. If there is such information on him, he should be included into the official register. You can send us an official request. We will check that, and we will include him into the register. And the last question, I request you, after the briefing, there will be some questions from journalists. We will talk to you after the briefing. Channel 112. In occupational authorities of Crimea, they are planning to review this decision on Majlis. I don't want to provide any comments on the statements of the pseudo authorities in Crimea, because these are not legitimate bodies. They are not recognized not just by Ukraine, but by the whole of the world. As to Russia, the Russia will either execute the order, or we will insist on applying the mechanism of enforcement. And this will be the signal whether Russia crossed all the borders, or whether all the limits, or whether they have some reason and they will stop persecuting Crimean Tatars. Even as the court established it, even in the intermediary ruling. So we will be using adequate measures. What will be the measures? One of the mechanisms is the resolution of the General Assembly of the United Nations. If the ruling is not executed, it will become the basis for the criminal tribunal as well. Thank you, Pavlo. Thank you, Andrei. If you have more questions to the speakers, please come to them individually and ask the questions. The briefing of the Director of Anti-Corruption Bureau will take place in 3 minutes.